Although the 2021 NFL Draft is just a year away, it's never too early to take a look at who the first few picks can be. Though they still can return to school, everyone expects the first two quarterbacks off the board to be Clemson's Trevor Lawrence and Ohio State's Justin Fields. Now again, a lot can change over the next season. They can have awful years, they might return for another year, but it's widely regarded that those are going to be the first two quarterbacks off the board. Or will they be? Meet Trey Lance out of North Dakota State. Not only can he potentially be the second quarterback off the board, he could potentially be the first. Today we're going to be talking about the player that can shock the world next year and be the #1 overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft. Before we get into today's video, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you love college football. If you're a college football fan, this is definitely the channel for you. And don't forget to turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. If you follow college football closely at all, I'm fairly confident that you're familiar with North Dakota State, the most dominant team in college football over the last decade. Now, sure, they're in the FCS, but when I say most dominant team in college football, I mean it. The Bison have won 8 of the last 9 national titles in the football championship subdivision. They've won their last 3 games against Power 5 opponents dating back to 2013. The Bison also haven't lost since November of 2017 and are currently riding a 37-game winning streak. A 37-game winning streak. I don't care who you're playing, it's tough to beat 37 teams in a row regardless. They're the real deal. And so are their quarterbacks. The last 2 quarterbacks who have started for North Dakota State are currently in the NFL. Easton Stick, who was the 2019 5th round pick by the Chargers, and Carson Wentz, who was the #2 overall pick by the Eagles back in 2016. And by the looks of it, they're going to make it 3 very soon. Meet Trey Lance, the next great quarterback from North Dakota State, who is likely going to be a first rounder in next year's draft. His name may sound familiar to you, but if it doesn't, let me get you all caught up. As a redshirt freshman last year, Lance had arguably one of the best seasons we've ever seen from a college quarterback at any level. He started all 16 games for the Bison, winning each one of them. He threw for 2,800 yards and 28 touchdowns while completing 67% of his passes. If you notice I didn't include any interceptions, well, that's because he didn't throw a single one. Yep, in 16 games, Lance threw 0 interceptions. He threw the ball 287 times last year and didn't throw a single pick. In addition to that, he was also the Bison's leading rusher. He ran for 1,100 yards and 14 touchdowns. No need to grab your calculator, I'll do the math for you. That's 42 total touchdowns with 0 interceptions. The 6'3", 225-pound quarterback from Marshall, Minnesota led the FCS in passing efficiency and set school single-season records for passing efficiency and total yards of offense. Not bad breaking school records when there was a guy a few years back playing for your school that was taken #2 in the draft. A national championship wasn't the only award Lance took home last year. He became the first freshman to win the Walter Payton Award, which is given annually to the most outstanding offensive player in the FCS. He also won a few other awards. Now, there are too many to mention, so I think I'll just leave them here on screen for a few seconds. Didn't have enough time to read them all? I don't blame you. So, I know what you're asking. Why is Trey Lance only in North Dakota State, and where did he come from? Lance is the son of Carlton Lance, a former defensive back from the CFL. During Lance's junior year of high school, his father took him to visit FBS football camps. They drove to Nebraska, camped in Minnesota twice, and attended camps at both North Dakota State and South Dakota State. Now, Trey Lance would have gone to Wisconsin's camp, but the timing conflicted with his baseball schedule. According to his father, Lance had interests from Northern Illinois, Western Michigan, Air Force, some Ivy League programs, and Boise State. Though he attended camps at some Big Ten schools, the offers never came in. There were some teams that were interested in him, but as a safety. Now, Lance also did play strong safety in high school, but he knew he wanted to play quarterback at the next level. When Trey Lance went to North Dakota State's camp, they weren't even on his radar as a possible destination. However, the success of the team over the last decade definitely caught Trey's attention. His dad told him that no matter where he played, the scouts would find him if he was good enough. Going to an FBS school would be great, but at North Dakota State, he'd have a chance to play for national championships, something that majority of FBS teams can't even offer. Lance would also be able to redshirt his first year while Easton Stick was still there and started. Now, as opposed to being rushed into action as a starter somewhere else, Lance would have time to develop and learn from one of the best quarterbacks in the history of the program. Here's what Trey Lance had to say about sitting his first year behind Easton Stick. The redshirt year was huge for me. I definitely needed it. Just to have that learning curve and to learn a lot from Easton, to do everything I can to copy him, steal his notes and stuff like that. I definitely needed that time to grow on and off the field. Leadership qualities, and then obviously on the field, learning new concepts, really learning a new language. Our offense is pretty complex. Learning different concepts and the wordiness of our offense, I definitely needed that time and got to play in a couple of games as a true freshman. The amount I grew from the time I stepped on campus in June to the first time I stepped foot on the field was incredible. One Big Ten recruiting coordinator told The Athletic that his school felt like Lance improved a lot as a thrower in his final year of high school. We recruited him as an athlete, but the coaches decided that they wanted more of a finished product at quarterback in that class. Trey was a great kid. A lot of people on staff wanted to offer and take him as a quarterback, but unfortunately, the timing didn't work out well. After a game day visit to North Dakota State, it seemed like Lance's decision would be easy for him. He said that visit changed his whole outlook on the recruiting process. He got to spend valuable time with Stick and several other Bison players. Lance was blown away by the connection the community had with the program. They're the most generous, nicest people I've ever been around. Everyone talks about Minnesota nice. I think North Dakota might bring that to another level. Lance sat back and watched Easton Stick lead the Bison to a national championship during his first year. Then, in 2019, he was ready for his moment. In the first game of the season against Butler, he completed 10 of 11 passes for 185 yards and 4 touchdowns. He also added 116 yards on the ground on only 5 carries for 2 touchdowns. Trey Lance's dominance continued week after week after week after week, and yeah, you get the picture. He was dominating every week of the season. Every game, regardless of who the opponent was, Trey Lance was putting up video game-like numbers. In North Dakota State's 4 playoff games, Lance threw for 600 yards and 5 touchdowns, while rushing for 360 yards and 4 touchdowns. Sure, he played FCS competition in 2019, but Lance has a golden opportunity to prove he's the real deal in week 1 of the 2020 season. In the season opener, North Dakota State travels to Autzen Stadium to take on the defending Pac-12 and Rose Bowl champion Oregon Ducks. It's going to be the biggest game of his career, but Trey Lance seems like he's ready for it. We're looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun to go out there and compete with those guys. Now, they're obviously a very talented team, and I think we are too. It'll be a ton of fun to get out there and a big opportunity for a lot of our guys to show everyone in the country what we're all about. Personally, that's one of the games I'm looking forward to most in 2020. As I mentioned earlier in this video, North Dakota State has beaten the last 3 Power 5 teams they've played. Now, granted, Oregon's going to be a much tougher task, but I think Trey Lance and the Bison are up for the task. Now, whether they win or they lose, one thing's going to be certain after that game. Trey Lance is going to be a name that the country takes note of.